everybody, Jeff King here, coming to you with another initial impressions video, this time for a game on Kickstarter called Smoking Aces. This is basically a poker variant card that plays with 2 to 8 players. You have 3 different ways you can play, and you are basically trying to get the best poker hand in front of you while hopefully messing with your opponents and making their hand a little bit worse. So the way that you're going to see played in the video is the stud version. So there's the stud, draw, and hold'em, and they're all just slight variants of the other one. We decided to play with the stud version, which is basically that you have 5 cards in your hand and you play from there. So you start with 5 cards in your hand, and on your turn, you play a card to your pocket. So you play a card face up in front of you, and depending on the card you play, cards have either play abilities, which means you've played them from your hand into your pocket. So if the card says played and it has an ability, if you've done it, so like for instance this guy here, the King of Hearts has a played ability that says if I play it into my pocket, I get to draw 2 cards. Some cards will have like a continuous ability. So for instance, here's one right here, the 5 of clubs. 5 of clubs, if I play this into my pocket, then this ability is always in effect, which is at the start of your turn, draw a card and discard a card. And then there are discard abilities, like this 6 of diamonds has. And for the discard ability to take effect, you actually have to discard it from your hand into the discard pile. So it can't be in your pocket and discarded. So this discard ability, for instance, is take any card in any pocket and add it to any hand. So you steal a card from a pocket, you get to put it in your hand and either play it later for its value or its ability, whichever you decided to steal it for. The game continues until all players are out of cards. So basically, if you ever have less than 5 cards between the pocket and in your hand, so you total the 2 up. If you're less than 5, you immediately draw back up to 5. If you ever have more than 7 cards, you immediately discard down to 7. And then once you've played all your cards, so this isn't like a draw one, play one kind of thing. Any draw you get is either because you're less than 5 cards or a card has told you to draw. So once you're out of cards and once all the players are out of cards, you take your best 5 cards in pocket, make your best hand, and the player with the best hand wins. Dead man's hand is kind of the exception. So if you end up with aces and 8s of the spades and clubs, then that's like an auto lose for you. You can play this with some form of, friendly gambling or, M&M's, poker chips, whatever you want to do, and play best of whatever or until everybody's out, that kind of thing. So that is an option as well. It does not come with any type of poker chips or anything, at least that I'm aware of. You'd have to check out the Kickstarter. Again, I should also point that out. This is a Kickstarter preview. We didn't get even a box or anything, and the rules were online, so I don't know how finalized this is. Again, it's a poker deck with some abilities. I'm assuming it's fairly finalized. The one thing both myself and Megan would say is even with studio lights and the whole deal, these cards are hard to read. Not the abilities, but just their actual numeric value and what suit they are is a little hard to read. So under normal to low light conditions, that would be kind of a pain in the butt. That's kind of an easy thing to potentially fix. I know, they were kind of going with this old westy kind of distressed look, which would be cool, but you still kind of need it to be readable at the game table. So that's one thing I would change. The other thing is there's just a little bit of rule tightening up I would do. For instance, just clarify a little bit about the discard abilities, because the rules as written that were presented to me basically say on your turn you you play one card from your hand into your pocket. That doesn't cover what if on my turn I want to play like a discard ability. Do I get to, because later on it says you can play a discard ability at any time when it describes what a discard effect is. So I kind of took that eventually to mean that I could, if I wanted to, discard a card on my hand and then I have to play one into my pocket. That's how I took it. Just a little tightening up though, especially if I'm mistaken about that. The other thing too, there is a small section in the rule book that talks about if you play an ace into your pocket, you get some extra abilities. I didn't like that that was buried in the rule book and wasn't on the card somewhere, or wasn't signified on the card somehow, either an icon or something to remind me and the other people playing that, hey, you get an extra ability with your ace. So those are a couple things that I would probably look at and maybe tighten up if possible. Outside of that, I always kind of like when games like this, or say like Diamonds that took the trick-taking game and added a twist to it to add in some elements from other areas of board gaming or tabletop gaming. And I think myself personally, I don't play a lot of poker. I did when I was younger, but I got out of that real quick. So the poker side of things doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but adding the strategic elements on top of the poker side somewhat appeals to me. I thought that was kind of cool. Although, I mean, and it depends on the way you play. The one thing I would change the hold'em a little bit, or add a fourth variant where there's almost like an actual drafting thing. That would be kind of interesting as well. Or playing with some public cards out in the middle or something, like you would in a normal hold'em game. The one thing about the hold'em variant is like you actually pass like the deck and you pick your starting 5 cards. I would much prefer doing like the 5 or 6 card draw and passing and doing the draft, or have some public cards that are made available as you go along out in the middle as an additional variant. You could keep that one, maybe call it something else. It doesn't really seem like hold'em to me. That's just me. But the version we played, I like. It's quick. It goes kind of quick. That's kind of nice. You can play, again, you can decide best 3 out of 5, whatever. You can play with poker chips and decide until somebody's out. You can decide how many poker chips everybody gets. Any of those kind of things. And I do like the abilities and the actions getting added to a game that a lot of people are familiar with. So again, just like with Trick Takers and like Diamonds, that was able to bring in some extra abilities to give people that like card games a glimpse into what other board games do. I think Smoking Aces has the potential to kind of do that as well. You can maybe get some people to play it that are really big into poker but don't know much about other games, and kind of start seeing these abilities and different ways that you can use the cards, and then the strategic element of, am I playing this into my pocket for its value, or am I playing it in my pocket or discarding it for its ability, and that kind of choice that you might have to make. So with that, I actually do kind of enjoy Smoking Aces a little bit for that factor. It's not as high up, in my opinion, as Diamonds. I think Diamonds did it a lot better, but I do appreciate bringing those elements into a familiar card game. And it plays quick enough that you can play, like I said, multiple times, multiple rounds. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. This is from Pawnjoker Games. They are on Kickstarter, and they're going until November 2nd, 2015, I believe. So plenty of time for you to get out there and check this out. It's going to have a very low funding goal, so it's going to be easy to kind of get funded and hopefully get out there. So go check out Smoking Aces if this sounds like something that you would be interested in. Like I said, you kind of see it playing behind. Megan and I got a chance to sit down and play it for the video. And yeah, like I said, overall, I like adding in those elements, taking some board game, card game kind of elements that we're used to in the tabletop side and merging them with a game that's very familiar to a lot of people, poker. And I do like the fact that they have variant ways to play, despite the fact that I would like to see at least one more variant. So Smoking Aces, out on Kickstarter, again until November 2nd. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I will be back very soon.